Well, a new report by the Congressional Budget Office adding even more urgency to the debate over how to trim the deficit. The CBO estimates the deficit will hit $1.5 trillion this year. It means government will borrow 40 cents for every dollar it spends just this year. Joining us now, Vermont Congressman Peter Welch, a chief deputy whip for House Democrats. You heard the president's speech last night. There was lots of mingling of members from both sides of the aisle, Republicans sitting with Democrats and so forth. Now that the actual work begins, can that continue? Can Democrats and Republicans work together?
Well, we have to, really. I mean, the president was very clear that he takes the deficit as a threat to our long-term economic health. And we've got two really tough problems. One is we've got to bring unemployment down, and we've got to bring the deficit down with it. And there's going to be an investment approach where we have an opportunity to create jobs. I do believe the president's right that we've got to rebuild our infrastructure to give us economic opportunity. But then he showed how serious he is about the deficit and understands that it's got a long-term threat with his 5-year freeze on discretionary spending and his willingness to work, even including defense cuts and every other program in the federal government. So he's on the same page. We've got to bring this deficit down, and we'll be there to work with him and hopefully with Republicans.
Well, you know, with all due respect, a lot of people are suggesting, a lot of economists are suggesting that what the president has done, you know, based on, say, the 2007 budget numbers, is inflate the budget to a huge degree. You've got that 40 cents on every dollar going to service the debt now, and then propose a freezing it at a much higher level than it was even 3 years ago. And that amounts to essentially a drop in the bucket. Your response?
Well, it's not enough. I mean, by the way, discretionary spending is only 12% of our budget. So the biggest challenge for us is the interest on the debt. And every time we bring the deficit down, we reduce those interest payments. But second, and probably biggest, is health care. I mean, the health care expense, not just for the federal government with Medicaid and Medicare, but in the private sector, those health care premiums going up, that's a real add-on to the deficit. And frankly, the biggest challenge that we haven't made enough progress on.
So doesn't the new health care law propose cutting $500 billion out of Medicare?
Well, that's been a bone of contention. The CBO, which is the impartial referee, says that the health care bill will bring down the level of increase in spending, and it says repeal of health care would add about $230 billion to the deficit, and we're having a kind of a food fight about whether that's accurate or not. But even if it is accurate, take the CBO numbers, the rise in health care spending, we have not been successful in bringing it down to the rate of inflation, the rate of profit, the rate of wage growth. So whatever your health care plan is and however you want to finance it, if the cost goes up beyond what we can sustain and afford, it's not going to work.
Congressman Peter Welch is a Democrat of Vermont. It's good to have you on today. Thank you.
Thank you.